I don't think it's too radical of a take to say that the recent reviews of stuff have fallen for the fake deep analysis trap. Hell, a week ago I watched a analysis on the game Mouthwashing. The video starts, and I kid you not, with a dictionary definition for the word subtext, and then the phrase, "This game is defined by its subtext." Fundamentally unserious as a video, but it's not necessarily a unique phenomenon. I, like probably many of you, like watching those 13-hour deep dive into an obscure network television show. But they're mostly not that obscure, they're just like old, like maybe like 10 years old maybe. And most of the analysis is just summaries, stuff you can read off of a wiki. At the very least, you'll get some very interesting notes about production, but most of the time it's just an episode guide. Another issue I have for them is that they never seem to respect the rule of cool. For those of you who aren't brain poisoned and don't know too much about tabletop role-playing games, the rule of cool is the idea that you can break any rule you want so long as it's cool enough. Like, yeah, the fighter can't actually jump 50 feet in the air to grapple a dragon and bring it to the ground, but it'd be pretty sweet if he did. It's a pretty solid way of running games and also allows for a lot of very powerful character moments. The breaking of the rules inherently marks something as important, and when it's used correctly, it adds a lot of depth and mystique to a character. And this idea isn't only limited to role-playing games, it additionally applies to writing as well. I'm mostly going to be talking about battle shonen, manga, and video games just because they're easier to represent in a video, but this does apply to all different sorts of writing as well. When you have a world with meticulous rules about how things work or how things should work, and then a character breaks those rules, it's something significant. It almost wakes the reader up and you start paying attention. When used sparingly, this is a very powerful tool in an author's toolkit. There's a trope that I love in battle shonen. Whenever a character is introduced, typically they'll have some sort of special attack that sets them up as this mystical, powerful foe. Take Giorno, for instance, from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5. When he's first introduced, he's shown to have an ability that he can reflect damage that is inflicted upon his creations. This is never used again in any of the other fights. In fact, it's hardly even a factor that his enemies play around with. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, just that, you loaded Chekhov's gun and then never fired it. This is obviously because Araki forgot and has bad writing skills. But the simple reason is, did you see how cool Giorno was in that moment with Leaky-Eyed Luca? Do you see how he positioned as someone who cares about his creatures and the people under him? He was a planner, he's a schemer. He has a lasting impression that affects the story going forward. And the question ultimately comes down to is, why do this over something else? To answer that, I'm going to go to a different brain rot that I've been having, Limbus Company. Spoilers, obviously. Okay, so you know Canto 7, right? Papadon summons his blood spear, challenges Sancho to a duel, rises high into the sky, clashing his spear with her lance. The music swells, the fireworks go off, the moon is bright and full, and the more obnoxious person would say, wait, Sancho can't just summon her lance. I mean, yeah, you use an ego, but you can't really use it like that, or at least they're not at the level where they can. And if Sancho can just take off her shoes whenever she wants, which are limiters, then why can't she just always use her Blood Fiend powers? Why even use identities at that point? I, however, am not obnoxious, and will tell you, just look at this. Pure fucking cinema. Sure, it's Project Moon, and they probably have explanations for all of this and reasons why they did what they did, but does that matter? What matters is the emotional turbulence that comes from this clash. Clashing dreams with the person who gave you yours as your weapon mimics theirs. A second generation kindred clashing off against the first, shown in their literal height difference. Hell, Sancho's lance is hollow like her dream, with the phrase "gallop on together" as she fights for her dream to live it out with her friends in the Limbus Company. It's cinema. There is pure storytelling in this, even if it isn't necessarily perfectly logically consistent with everything. There's a pretty pretentious idea that you can't enjoy something if it's not based in logic, that the suspension of disbelief is only stretched too far, that you can't enjoy something anymore. And to a certain degree, I get it. When everything feels like it's just cobbled together with cool moments that don't actually show you anything about a character or heighten the depths to which you understand them, It really does feel like a roller coaster of twists and turns that serve to exhaust your sense of excitement. It can't hurt your story to be more logically consistent. Using the rule of cool in stories is a double-edged sword. If you do it badly, you now have a mess of things that don't track in-universe and characters fall flat and get called a fraud. But if you do it well, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, because I feel like this is a pretty bad opinion to have on the internet. Jiujitsu Kaizen does something pretty interesting with this idea. Spoilers, again. Okay, it's the final fight with Sukuna. He's 30 million binding vows deep, his kill count is still only one fucking guy, whoever that fraud is, and is fighting with a guy who doesn't really have a unique curse technique yet other than the ones he inherited because Kenjaku wanted to get a little freaky with Sukuna's ancestors. The only power-up he has is that he learned reverse curse technique so he doesn't die instantly, and is given some curse tools that I guess amplify his punches? Maybe? We're never given a 100% definition of what those do. And in this fight, he pulls out a domain expansion. Domain expansions are these things which are the pinnacle of a curse technique. They are pure expressions of how you view the world and how you use cursed energy. Hidadori's remakes his hometown and allows him to explore it. There isn't like a dedicated clause that you have to be a pacifist within it. There's nothing stopping Sukuna from continuing fighting, and he still has empty wicker basket in case anything goes awry. So he doesn't have to go along with Yuji to explore everything. And all this does is allow Yuji to judge someone's character, kind of, because he doesn't use clairvoyance or anything, he just goes off of pure vibes of hanging out with someone for a day. I think that this is really good, because even though it stretches the believability of everything that's happening, the moment where Yuji looks at Sukuna and demands back Megumi's body to give him one last chance to do the right thing, to appeal to the very last sense of the human spirit within Sukuna, shows so much about Itadori's character and Sukuna's character by contrast that it works for me, and it's good. But also, you kind of have to say, yeah, that doesn't necessarily track the best in story or in universe. So what's the point? I've been yapping for about 7 minutes and 25 seconds at this point, and all I really have to say at the end of it is, roll with it. If you're watching something and you're only really looking for the logical analysis of what's happening, take a breath, realize that sometimes to fully capture a character, you kind of have to bend the rules a little bit, and just try to understand what the author is saying. I think that's the big takeaway. An author's intent is always there. They're always trying to leave you with some sort of emotion or thing to think about, and sometimes you gotta fist fight God to show a character's really determined. Hi, so that was the end of the video. It's me, Beatrice. It's been about a year, I think, since I uploaded last. Oops, my bad. Notable things in my life. Got a partner, moved out to live with them, and then I started working these 12-hour shifts, and I got really tired, and I don't want to do anything anymore. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for whatever the fuck I'm doing. Hopefully more videos weekly. Maybe. I'm still getting back in the hang of making videos. Bye-bye!